There's an idealistic strain, I think, sometimes. And I wondered, are you quite idealistic?
Probably.
Because that would suggest you're also quite romantic.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't be this disappointed if I wasn't. Yeah. Jesus.
But you're not really ever described as a romantic writer. I don't mean Mills and Boon romance. I mean, you know, that notion of...
Love!
Well, you can't be disappointed in the world unless you've got expectations of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I grew up with, yeah, with that kind of stuff being the way things should be. Believing in the importance of stories, believing in the importance of language, believing in goodness. You know, not that good would necessarily be rewarded, but believing that you should do things the right. You know, I grew up with Doctor Who, basically. Got many of my values from you know, you don't kill things and you don't commit genocide and all of that stuff. So you know, I grew up with children's television that had a particular set of values,
Yeah.
and kind of went with that fairly helplessly. But you know, I think that was okay, and it's quite a nice thing to give little people because you know you're quite uncomplicated when you're 5, so you can make, not in a bad way, black and white decisions. You can actually make it, you know, if you asked a bunch of 5-year-olds, should Copenhagen have been more successful? Should you actually have bothered to do something? Particularly because you'll be much more affected by it than us. You know, there would have been no argument. They would have said, yeah, you know. Should hundreds of thousands of people die every day unnecessarily? No. And when you get older, you get, you know, distracted by your life, and you get distracted by complications, which are actually things that you should overcome. I mean, occasionally people don't like Beveridge, when he wrote the Beveridge report, said, you know, what man has marred, man can amend, which I believe, you know. But people tend to sort of forget that, or it would be too much. You know, and you know, I'm not working with lepers in Africa or anything. So clearly I don't care that much either. But where the hell was that going? But no, I am, you know,
yeah, you're still carrying on childhood values on into that, and that's a difficult thing to do.
And I think, you know, human beings largely, they have an enormous potential, and you know, apart from folk that have something wrong with them and are sociopaths or whatever, which is not a high percentage of people, generally you're very affected by what you're told and what you're surrounded by and what you're told is acceptable, and we are quite permeable.
Yeah.
And every time they do experiments, we are, in a nice way, permeable, you know, because we can influence each other, but the downward tilt is quite easy to initiate. You know, I know obviously we have politicians who live in a palace, so they behave like princes and princesses. Don't know why we're ever surprised by that. It's like, take them out of the palace then. Stop telling them they can do whatever they like, and fawning and allowing them to dress up and making them feel special in a really quite toxic way. Because frankly, anybody, Francis of Assisi, you could put in there and he'd go to the bad. Just.
But